Part 36. Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 351. It had only been 20 days, and Feng Qingxiu was a little disappointed. After being separated for more than a year and only getting along for 20 days, it would be very sad for everyone. But she knew the responsibility that Lu Zhang shouldered. Because of their bloody sacrifices, the people in the rear, including her own family, were safe and sound, so she didn't show any dissatisfaction on her face. Instead, Lu's father counted the days and sighed. "It's just the 12th lunar month, and it looks like you can't celebrate the new year at home again." Lu Zhang yawned and said with a wry smile, "This is a rule, I must obey it. In fact, it takes more than a month just to go back and forth. After careful calculation, I have been away from the army for nearly 2 months." Father Lu said doubtfully, "I remember you came here every once in a while for about 20 days. Why did it suddenly become more than a month? A full 10 days more. Dad, Ajiang must be no longer where he was. He is a soldier, and isn't it the country and the army that have the final say wherever he goes?" Feng Qingxiu had previously received a letter from Wang Zijin after receiving the medicine. No Lu Jiang's situation. It took her half a month to go to the military hospital in the southwest military region, but it only took Lu Jiang 10 days to return to the army. That's the difference. After hearing this, Father Lu didn't ask any more questions. "When you get home, take a good rest and spend time with your wife and children." Yes, Lu Jiang straightened his back. He didn't need to be reminded by his father. This was his plan. Lu Jiang was also very sad when he thought that his son would give him a snot bubble at the first sight of him. After eating and clearing away the dishes, Father Lu took the group of children away. The young couple finally met each other, so the children should not join in the fun. It was not advisable to take a shower immediately after a meal. Feng Qingxiu first found Lu Jiang's clothes, new underwear, autumn clothes, cashmere clothes, and old military uniforms, and prepared soap, towels, bathtubs, and other items. Lu Jiang rubbed his eyes, carried the cold and hot water into the bedroom, and poured it into the bathtub. Feng Qingxiu bolted the front door and the main room door, and came back to rub his back. But when she saw the scars all over his body, tears flowed out. "There are many more injuries than the last time I was home, including gunshot wounds, knife wound. No wonder you are so thin and almost out of shape. You must have been unable to eat or sleep well, and you have lost so much blood that your vitality has been damaged." Lu Jiang felt warm all over after soaking in the hot water. It had been a long time since he had taken a hot bath. He closed his eyes and held Feng Qingxiu's hand with his backhand. "Don't cry, wife, haven't I come back well? Compared with the comrades who sleep forever in the border defense and the comrades who are missing arms, legs and eyes, I have already come back. Very lucky." Feng Qingxiu's eyes were filled with tears. "You're still talking. Do you want to be like them?" "Bah, crow's mouth, don't say any more." Okay, don't say it, don't say it. For you and Zibao, I will take good care of myself." Feng Qingxiu wiped her tears with her sleeves. "Speaking of Zibao, which of your comrades wants to accept Zibao as a godson?" "Why?" Lu Jiang's tone suddenly dropped. "It's Zhao Anbang. He was injured in the war before, lost his fertility, and has no plans to get married. Before this counterattack, we agreed that my child would be him. All the children, whether they are boys or girls, will provide for him in the future." Unexpectedly, in order to cover the comrades behind him, he took an enemy grenade with his bare hands and blew off an arm before he could throw it back. Zhao Anbang, this name sounds familiar to me," Feng Qingxiu said. Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 352. Lu Jiang didn't take his wife's words seriously, because there are many people named Anbang, and there are many people with the same name in the military. He is a fellow villager with us. I promised him to come back this time to help him find out. I wonder if my family has returned to their hometown. His father was an old revolutionary, but he was decentralized a few years ago. His family used to live in the capital, but he has been unable to contact him. Feng Qingxiu suddenly raised her hand and patted his shoulder. Wait. Wait. Lu Zhang suddenly opened his eyes and asked, "What's wrong, wife?" I remembered who Zhao Anbang was, Anbang from Anbang Dingguo, right? Seeing Lu Zhang nod, Feng Qingxiu clapped her hands together. That's right, isn't he Tiankai's uncle? I remember Tiankai said, his grandfather was sent down, and his uncle was a soldier in the northwest. I haven't seen him much since I was a child. When did he get together with you? Anbang was transferred to us just at the beginning of the year. He is my deputy. Lu Zhang was overjoyed. Honey, do you know his family? What a coincidence. His eldest sister is Zhao Qiaheng, his nephew is Tiankai, and his surname is Ren or something. I don't remember clearly. Tiankai's current surname is Zhao. After Uncle Zhao was decentralized, Sister Qiaheng was divorced, and Tiankai lived with her. Lu Jiang's face darkened after hearing this. Feng Qingxiu stood behind him. Although he could not see his face clearly, she could guess that he was angry at Zhao Qiaheng's husband's despair. She sighed in a low voice, "Today's world is in chaos from top to bottom. From now on, the days of chaos are long, people are not human, ghosts are not ghosts, for the sake of their own interests, how can they care about the love between husband and wife and the love between father and son?" Wasn't this the situation during the 10 years of catastrophe? Anbang didn't know about this in the army. I only heard him mention that his brother-in-law was the son of an old revolutionary. He was born in Miaohong, and the two families were well matched. Lu Zhang sighed, "That's fine, just be ruthless Junking, who can't live without him. In the future, his nephew will be his heir, and the Zhao family will be considered a successor." Feng Qingxiu hummed, "Let's go to Tiankai's house tomorrow." Zhao Anbang was injured and was still in the hospital. He was missing an arm. Aunt Zhao must be very sad when she found out. Feng Qingxiu couldn't wait for Lu Jiang's reply for a long time, so she turned around and lowered her head to see that he was actually asleep. He fell asleep in a second. He was talking to her a second ago, and he fell asleep the second. Looking at the green and black color in his eyes, it looked like he hadn't slept for several days and nights. Feng Qingxiu felt extremely distressed immediately, and hurriedly rubbed his shoulders, back, arms and legs, and then woke him up. "Ajiang, wake up, come out and dry yourself, put on clothes and go to bed to sleep." Yesterday afternoon, the train broke down at the previous station. The railway workers worked overtime and it took a whole day and night to repair it. It took another half a day to take the train from that station to home. Lu Zhang couldn't wait any longer, so he went ahead of schedule. He got off the car and ran all the way home, with a flashlight illuminating the road. He walked for a full 20 hours at night and during the day. At first, the joy of seeing his family supported him to communicate with them. Now he is soaking in a hot bath and tired. "My body is dizzy, my mind is dizzy, and I am so sleepy that I can't stand it anymore." Hearing his wife's call, he got alert, tried his best to open his heavy eyelids, jumped out of the tub quickly, wiped himself and put on his underwear and autumn clothes. He leaned over and fell on the bed and fell into a deep sleep. We are pure children, don't think wrongly. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 353. Feng Qingxiu felt extremely distressed when she saw this. She first applied some topical ointment to him, dealing with frostbite and dryness, and carefully wiped his face, hands, and feet, not sparing any part, and then hung him on the edge of the bed. She moved her legs to the bed, moved his head to be side by side with Zibao, resting on her own pillow, and finally pulled up Zibao's quilt to cover him. Sitting on the edge of the bed, Feng Qingxiu looked greedily at her husband, whom she had not seen for more than a year, and took a look at her son. Everyone said that Zibao looked like Lu Jiang, but now that she took a quick look, she couldn't tell where Zibao followed Lu Jiang. There are obvious differences between father and son. The big one is dark and skinny, with sunken cheeks, and the small one is white and fat, with 2 layers of fat on the chin. One's skin is as rough as old tree bark, and the other's skin is as soft as a peeled egg. There were 2 clusters of plateau red on the big face, and 2 clusters of blush on the small cheeks. Both of them were in deep sleep, with their eyes closed so that no clues could be discerned. However, if you look carefully, you can see that the eyebrows and noses of the father and son are quite similar, with 2 thick sword eyebrows flying diagonally into their temples, a high bridge of nose, and a big mouth. The shape of the small mouth is also very similar. Taken together, Zibao really looks like Lu Jiang. Let Lu Jiang take good care of himself and take some more photos of father and son before returning to the army. Thinking of this, Feng Qingxiu happily scooped the bath water into a bucket and took it out to drain. She pulled the empty bath bucket to the corner and put it in the corner. She threw the clothes that Lu Jiang had just changed into the dirty clothes basket and prepared to take them out to wash clothes. In the blink of an eye, Zibao woke up. As usual, the little guy stretched his arms and kicked his legs. He kicked off half of the quilt, crawled out half of his body, and then turned over. His limbs kept moving like a little turtle. He wanted to turn over and sit up, but he couldn't do it. The little mouth flattened, and was about to cry loudly in exchange for the adult's sympathy and help, when suddenly he found a strange breath around him. Ah! Zibao moved his limbs again and again, supporting the bed, and finally moved his heavy little body to get in front of Lu Jiang's face. He stood up with his upper body, raised his head and looked at Lu Jiang's face, his mouth watering. Lu Jiang's face was filled with emotion. Finding that he was not white, beautiful, or fragrant, and motionless, Zibao supported himself with one hand, reached out with the other hand and patted his dark face unhappily, and then pushed him out, as if he wanted to push him out of the bed, but unexpectedly, the arms supporting the body couldn't hold on for long. When the arms softened, the little guy's upper body was pressed against Lu Jiang's face. Ah! When Feng Qingxiu saw this, she smiled. When Zibao heard the sound, he immediately spotted his mother, and his eyes lit up like light bulbs. He immediately stretched out his 2 little paws towards her excitedly, babbling happily, and crawled towards his mother. Trying to cross the mountains. Feng Qingxiu quickly hugged him, sat on the edge of the bed, and said with a low smile, "Zibao, that's daddy." Zibao didn't understand what his father was. When he fell into his mother's soft and fragrant arms, his little head began to arch and he was eager to find his own food. Feng Qingxiu was wearing thick clothes and he couldn't find the pacifier he was looking for. The babbling sound became louder in anxiety. Fortunately, Feng Qingxiu was afraid of waking up Lu Jiang, so she quickly undressed to satisfy his hunger for food. The little guy ate eagerly and quickly, sucking the vagina in big mouthfuls, sucking this end with his mouth and protecting the other end with his hands. After eating and drinking enough, I burped happily. Feng Qingxiu was afraid that Lu Jiang would be woken up by him crying and making a fuss in the room, so she took him outside after changing his diaper. Sure enough, she saw the children coming back one after another. "Akin, you and Tianwan will bring happiness to me. Bao, I'll wash your uncle's clothes and Zibao's diapers." Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 354. Without waiting for Guancheng and Lu Tianjun to respond, Zibao happily extended his little paw towards them. Feng Qingxiu was extremely helpless with this virtue. Guancheng held Zibao very skillfully, and Zibao was also babbling happily, and his saliva was sparkling. Put him in the cradle when he's tired, Feng Qingxiu warned. Zibao is really loved by thousands of people. This cradle that looks very primitive and is very worn was bought by Lu Tianjun and Guancheng from the flea market for $1. The wood is actually extremely precious red sandalwood. The interior is paved. There is a small mattress made of new cotton, a small pillow and a small quilt, with red floral flowers, very bright, soft and comfortable. It is much easier as an adult when you have older children at home taking care of younger ones. Feng Qingxiu first washed Lu Jiang's dirty clothes and Zibao's diapers and hung them on the hemp rope in the room to dry. Then she took off all the military cotton padded jackets and cotton padded pants that Lu Jiang had put on. The pieces of cloth that were removed were torn both on the outside and on the inside. There were patches in a few places, the stitching was crooked, and there were several holes that had not been patched. Lu Jiang came back wearing autumn clothes and cashmere clothes, and his knees and elbows were worn out. Opening the luggage bag he brought, Feng Qingxiu packed up a pile of washed and unwashed clothes. Not a single piece of clothing was intact inside or outside. The most severely worn parts were the knees and elbow tips. There were several pieces. The holes in the clothes were obviously made by bullet holes and knives. You could vaguely see blood stains nearby that had not been cleaned and were permanently attached to them. Feng Qingxiu's eye circles immediately turned red, and she saw the Jifang shoes he had replaced. There were holes in the soles and they were filled with snow water. What a fool! Don't you know how to change your shoes when you get home? It's not like you don't have your shoes at home. Your feet soaked in the snow water should have been frozen to the point of losing consciousness, right? The clothes that were packed away were not washed because the days were short and the nights were long in winter, so it was time to make dinner. Feng Qingxiu rubbed her eyes and threw the clothes into the dirty clothes basket. She first made a bowl of vegetable puree for Zibao and asked Lu Tianjun and Guancheng to feed him, and then prepared the family's dinner. Lu Jiang was sleeping deeply. Feng Qingxiu left food for him but did not wake him up. As a result, he didn't eat the food at all and slept until early the next morning. Returning home felt like returning to a warm harbor. He was relaxed. He didn't need to be vigilant or rack his brains to think about how to break through the enemy's defense line. The child's cry at night didn't wake him up. The first thing Lu Jiang did when he opened his eyes was to look at his wife, who was sleeping soundly inside, and his precious son sleeping inside her. He was covered with a quilt alone, and his wife was covered with another quilt. The wife turned sideways and faced the bed, and could vaguely see the back of her neck exposed under her thick black hair, which was white and pink. The son was resting on her arm, facing her chest, and placed his two small fists in front of him. She was sleeping soundly, and the blush on her cheeks was very obvious. She didn't know what she was dreaming about, and her mouth was squeaking, and a trace of saliva flowed out. Seeing the scene in front of him, Lu Jiang immediately put all the ups and downs of border defense behind him. Isn't it just for the safety and joy of your family to fight bloody battles outside? He turned sideways, bent his right arm, pointed his elbow on the bed, and held his head in his hands. He just looked at his wife and children quietly, his chest was full of tenderness, and he wished that time could stop forever. I don't know how long it took, but the cock crow sounded outside. Zibao stretched and opened his eyes. Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 355. With the wind and light snow blocking it, Zibao couldn't see Lu Jiang at all, but Lu Jiang could clearly see his son's every move. It's so cute. The moment he opened his eyes, he was confused. His thick black hair stuck out several times, like the feathers exploding on a rooster's neck. When he reacted, he showed a sense of intelligence. Like himself, Lu Jiang thought. When he thought of this, he saw his baby boy blinking his big round eyes and chirping his little red mouth. He instinctively moved towards his mother's arms to look for food, just like a little piglet. No matter how he thought about it, Lu Jiang felt that something was wrong. Before he could figure out the reason, he saw Feng Qingxiu unbuttoning her clothes with her eyes closed. She was wearing a pajamas that she had sewn by herself. It was tied at the side and opened her arms with a gentle pull. White snow and red plum blossoms come into view in an instant. Although she had given birth to a child, her body was still flawless. Ah, the little fat man took his pacifier in his mouth at lightning speed, sucking it happily, his eyes narrowed with joy, his cheek pressed against the soft white skin. Feng Qingxiu skillfully stretched out his hand to separate his nose, and the snow-white distance prevented him from blocking his breathing. Lu Jiang's eyes were on fire. He was so envious that he wished he could replace the little fat man. "Little fat man, don't finish eating, leave some for your father." Lu Jiang, who sat up and turned sideways inward, almost screamed, but he was afraid of waking up Feng Qingxiu, who seemed to be sleeping, so he swallowed hard when the words came to his lips. His throat surged, and he swallowed them together with the saliva. He must be extremely tired, and Lu Jiang felt heartbroken. Although he has never taken care of his own child, nor has he taken care of other children, in the army, he often listened to his comrades talk about family affairs when he was free, and they talked about how difficult it was to take care of the child every day. She has to feed her milk every 1 or 2 hours at night, poop and pee, and the mother never gets a good night's sleep. The comrade who said these words always felt that he was sorry for his wife and the child, because he could not bear the pain of 10-month pregnancy on his wife's behalf, nor could he be present in the child's growing years. Today, this comrade in arms has been laid to rest at the border of the motherland and will never see his sorry wife and children. Whenever he thought about the past, Lu Jiang was extremely grateful for his luck. He looked at his wife and children affectionately, only to find that his wife reached out and touched her son's diaper, then opened her eyes and said, "Zibao, why didn't you pee after you peed? Say something. The diaper is soaked." Zibao held the pacifier in his mouth with an innocent face. "Qingxiu, please teach me how to change his diaper," Lu Jiang couldn't help but said, but he couldn't bear to take his eyes away from his wife. The scorching temperature in his eyes almost burned the furniture in the room. "How could you not feel the gentle wind and snow?" "Yes, Ajiang, you are back, I even forgot about it." Lack of sleep, his mind was in chaos. She sat up, still holding Zibao while breastfeeding. Before pulling the quilt over her and her mother, she told Lu Jiangdao, "There is Zibao's diaper on the fumigation cage. You can bring one over." At this time, she also remembered why her son didn't wear a diaper at night, because Lu Jiang was at home and it was inconvenient to take it out for use. Compared with current diapers, diapers are so advanced. The fumigation cage is a bamboo cage that covers the fire pot. Lu's father specially made it for his grandson based on the old fumigation cages. The clean diaper was put on the cage and dried quickly. The warm diaper was put on the buttocks. Worry about getting cold. Zibao is not the son of a genius and the son of a monster. I have never raised a child, so I need to consult the 2 hot mothers at home and read another chapter before going to bed. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 356. Lu Jiang quickly took a diaper and returned to the bed, holding the diaper up until his son had eaten and drank enough before changing it. Zibao ate very quickly. After eating and drinking, he was laid down on the bed. Ah, Zibao kicked his legs twice, as if he didn't understand why Xiangxiang's soft mother didn't hug him anymore. He put his little fist in his mouth and blinked his big innocent eyes. Ah! A brazier was always burning in the house, and only a crack in the window was opened for ventilation, so it was as warm as spring. Zibao used to sleep in a one-piece cotton suit at night, but now it was inconvenient for him to wear it, so Feng Qingxiu put him in cashmere clothes and pants that he knitted himself, and underneath he also wore a set of autumn clothes and autumn trousers, all of which were monk's crotchless trousers. Changing diapers is not technical, so Lu Jiang volunteered and removed the diaper from between his son's legs. He knelt down in front of his son. Unfortunately, he was completely in his sight. The little fat man immediately became unhappy and kicked his legs wildly, just like riding a bicycle. The cashmere clothes and autumn trousers were clearly visible, and they were babbling and screaming in an extremely miserable manner. Lu Jiang didn't react, and a jet of water suddenly rushed out from between his two fat legs, directly facing Lu Jiang's black face. "Be careful," shouted Feng Qingxiu, who had just tied up her clothes. They had just changed into clean clothes. Lu Jiang had quick eyesight and quick hands. He quickly put the diaper he had changed in front of him and tilted it slightly to catch all the urine. As a result, the soaked diaper became even more wet. There were no urine stains on the quilt or the clothes of the father and son. "Why, are my moves neat enough?" Lu Jiang was very proud, and then threw the diaper into the dirty clothes basket at the end of the bed, ready to wash it after dinner. Feng Qingxiu breathed a sigh of relief and felt very funny. "You." Lu Jiang turned around and saw that the scenery on her chest was no longer there, and the regret was very obvious in her dark eyes. Feng Qingxiu's face turned red and she hit him, "Hurry up and put the new diaper in him. The diaper must be cold after he's so old." As he said that, he taught him step by step how to fold the diaper, fold it in half and then in half, fold it into several layers, and fold it into a long strip. One end was placed under the buttocks in Zibao's pants, and the other was tucked on the lower abdomen. The diaper was indeed a little cold, and Zibao screamed unhappily. Lu Jiang nudged her side, his eyes and hands were dishonest. "Wife, don't make trouble." Feng Qingxiu was extremely itchy. She didn't know whether it was because she was breastfeeding or because she had given birth to a child. In short, her body was very sensitive now. His fingers touched her, stimulating bursts of electricity. Lu Jiang was hungry and thirsty, and was about to show off his talent, when he heard Zibao's cry and burst into tears. Lu Jiang suddenly became impotent. The little fat man's voice was as loud as a cannon, and no matter how strong his desire was, he was able to kill it. "You brat, you've repeatedly ruined your father's good deeds when we first met." Lu Jiang wanted to catch him and spank him, but he didn't dare. So he could only watch his wife gently hold him in her arms, pat him gently for a while, wait until his crying stopped, and then give him a gentle blow. Wear a floral cotton jacket, floral cotton trousers with shoulder straps, fur hoof shoes, and finally a lifelike tiger head hat. The little fat man is also as arrogant as the tiger head. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 357. Lu Jiang got out of bed angrily, got dressed, opened the door, and went to make breakfast. The little fat man refused to leave his mother's arms. Wherever he looked, he saw Lu Jiang's black face and burst into tears. He cried so loudly that his tears flowed into rivers, and his nose burst into big bubbles. The children, who always go to bed early and get up early, were alarmed and accused, "Uncle, brother-in-law, how can you make Zibao cry?" "Right?" the little fat man hiccuped. Yes, yes, he is my ancestor." "My little ancestor," Lu Jiang said angrily, and he also directed his two eldest nephews to the kitchen to help him wash rice, wash vegetables, and cook pots. Dried sweet potatoes and brown rice were added to cook porridge. Add cornmeal and white flour to the rolls, then stir-fry some pickle dumplings with red pepper. "Uncle, don't forget to steam eggs for Zibao. Zibao has to eat egg custard every morning," Lu Tianjun reminded. Guancheng quickly handed Zibao's special white-backed colored porcelain-covered bowl to Lu Zhang, and at the same time took out an egg and taught him how to crack the egg into the bowl, add as much water as possible, without adding any salt or condiments, and then cover it. Cover and place on grate. With such a small bowl, just one egg. Can Zibao be full? He is so fat, and his appetite is very good. Lu Tianjun stuffed a few corn cobs into the stove and looked up at him. Uncle, don't think that Zibao is a big eater like you. He is so small, so of course he eats less. Yes, yes, you are all right, Lu Zhang admitted defeat. I will fetch water, and you guys watch the rice in the pot and make sure it doesn't overflow. Go, Lu Tianjun and Guancheng waved at the same time. Lu Zhang filled 2 jars of water, boiled a pot of hot water and washed Zibao's clothes, diapers and his own clothes. After washing, he hung them to dry on the hemp rope in the house, then stepped on the snow to fetch water, preparing to go again. Fill the large water tank. On the way back, I met Wang Zhenqiu, who had gotten up early and walked around. I squinted at him for a while before I recognized him. I said, "Who is this person coming out of King Xiu's house? It turns out to be you. Lu Zhang, why are you so thin? Isn't it okay? He is still thin as a stick. Doesn't your King Xiu feel bad when she sees you?" "Uncle," Lu Zhang smiled and put down the carrying pole, dug into his pocket, took out a pack of large cigarettes, and handed a cigarette to Wang Zhenqiu. At the same time, he took out a box of matches and lit Wang Zhenqiu's fire. Wang Zhenqiu took 2 puffs of cigarette and said, "When did you come back? You just came off the battlefield, right? Otherwise, your army will take care of food and shelter. No matter how hard you train, you will never be so thin, with your face covered with wounds." Lu Zhang did not deny it. "I just got home yesterday. When I was not at home, my father and King Xiu were taken care of by my uncle." "Hey! You've been on the front line through life and death. If I can't even protect the lives of your family, I, the party secretary and captain, will just wait to step down and make way for someone more worthy." Wang Zhenqiu didn't want to take credit and quickly changed the subject. "I'll go ahead. I visited the commune and heard that recruitment will start again next spring. Do you know about this?" Lu Zhang smiled. "I just came back from the border defense and went straight to my house. I really haven't heard about the recruitment, but it starts on March 1st every year. My uncle asked about this because he wanted to get some help for our production brigade. A quota for recruitment. The living conditions of Wanglu Brigade are good, and the possibility of passing the physical examination is very high." Wang Zhenqiu shook his head and said, "Let nature take its course. I will accept a few of the quotas assigned by the above. Besides, some young men are willing to serve as soldiers, but some are not." Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 358. Everyone knows that being a soldier is risky. There are many people who are willing to join the army, and there are also those who are greedy for life and afraid of death. Wang Zhenqiu is over 50, what kind of things and what kind of people have he never seen? In the first 2 years, life in the production brigade was not easy. In order to have enough to eat, many young men over the age of 18 were willing to join the army. Unfortunately, most of them failed the physical examination at that time, and their individual weight was not enough. However, neither of the 2 young men who were admitted came back alive, and their parents cried until they fainted several times. This year's grain harvest is bumper, and every household has enough food rations. Although most people envy the salary of being a soldier, there are really not many people who are willing to serve as soldiers because their wives and children live on the hotbed. This is human nature. Of course, there are many hot-blooded young men, and many want to take this opportunity to escape from the countryside. Wang Zhenqiu didn't tell Lu Zhang what he was thinking. After finishing his cigarette, he patted Lu Zhang on the shoulder and said, "Okay, I'm going home for dinner. You should also go home early and have a good time with your family. Uncle, walk slowly. After Wang Zhenqiu had gone far, Lu Zhang picked up the pole again, poured 2 buckets of water into the kitchen water tank, and covered it with a wooden lid. While he was busy outside, Feng Qingxiu was also educating his son. Zibao, that's your dad. Do you understand your dad? You can't do this to him, he will be sad. 11 Bao pulled Feng Qingxiu's scarf and stuffed it into his mouth, but Feng Qingxiu took it out and said, "You can't eat this, it's very dirty." After saying that, he left the bedroom and asked his sister to tell Lu Zhang and give it to 11 Bao. Bao washed a radish and cut it into pieces and brought it over. "What do you want a radish for?" Lu Zhang came in with a piece of radish and asked. Feng Qingxiu smiled and said, "Your son's teeth are itchy, give him something to grind his teeth." "Oh," Lu Zhang came close to his son and handed him the carrot in his hand. Unexpectedly, the little fat man stared, turned his head, buried his face in Feng Qingxiu's arms, and gave Lu Zhang a fat back view. Lu Zhang was dumbfounded. What's his attitude? I'm his father, why is he ignoring me? Just as Feng Qingxiu was about to speak, Father Lu opened the curtain on the door and came in. He heated his hands on the brazier to get rid of the cold air. He turned back to pick up Zibao and said angrily, "Look at your face, it's still human face? Not to mention my little grandson, even I feel miserable. Hurry up and ask Xiaoxiu to give you some medicine and take good care of him, so as not to scare him again." Feng Qingxiu knew Zibao's temperament. How could Father Lu, who often held his grandson in his arms, not see it? Putting the carrot in Lu Jiang's hand to his son, Feng Qingxiu pushed Lu Jiang and said, "Hurry up and wash your face and brush your teeth. I'll give you some medicine when you get back home." Lu Jiang's eyes lit up, he quickly washed his face and brushed his teeth, ran to the bedroom and sat on the edge of the bed, waiting for Feng Qingxiu to serve him. His eyes were just like Zibao's eyes when he was breastfeeding, as bright as light bulbs. "Honey, you're so kind." The medicine stung slightly on her face, but her hands were soft and gentle. What Feng Qingxiu applied to him was snake oil ointment, which was put in a bottle of Yashuang cream to hide it from others. This is snake oil ointment, not cream. It is very effective in treating frostbite and cracking. You should apply it every morning and night to keep it healthy. It will take 3 to 5 days to recover. I will bring you 2 jars when you return to the army. Keep using it and don't make yourself so embarrassed. Lu Zhang is very handsome to begin with. If he is well taken care of, he will become a handsome boy. Zibao will not dislike him. Feng Qingxiu was helpless because of her son's bad behavior. Before going out, Feng Qingxiu reminded, "Eat less in the morning, just eat half full." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 359. Half full? I didn't eat last night and was sleeping all the time. Shouldn't I let myself eat and drink enough? Lu Zhang expressed that it was strange, but he ate half full obediently. Noticing his father's doubtful gaze, he quickly waved his hand to him. "I often don't have enough to eat outside, and hunger has narrowed my intestines. Now I don't eat as much as before." Father Lu felt very distressed after hearing this. "Xiaoxiu, while a Zhang is at home, make something delicious to feed him. Don't worry, I guarantee that Ajiang will gain weight in 8 or 10 days," Feng Qingxiu said confidently. "Can you not be confident? There are a lot of supplies in the space, including cooked food and nutrition." After dinner, all the children who were supposed to go to school went to school. Song Gang, who was not in school, was taken to the cowshed by Father Lu. The only 2 people left at home were the couple and a little fat man who was lying in his mother's arms and refused to leave. He stuck out his tongue and licked it. Licking the corners of her mouth, she seemed to be reminiscing about the egg custard she had just eaten. She looked like she wasn't full yet, and touched Feng Qingxiu's breasts with both hands. "Qingxiu, put the brat on the bed, don't tire you out, fatty, I can't touch you, and you can't touch him either." Lu Zhang became more and more jealous of his son, so jealous that his eyes turned red. The whole family, young and old, all revolve around him and regard him as their top priority. As the head of the family, he has no status at all. 11 Bao is getting more and more stressed and wears too many clothes. "If you don't tell me, I have to put him down." Putting her son on the side of the bed, Feng Qingxiu turned around and carried him on her back, and took out a cage of hot water from the space. Teng Teng handed the buns to Lu Zhang and ordered, "Eat." Lu Zhang was stunned, and finally understood the reason why she made him half full. It was to free up his stomach to eat the small stove she cooked. Big white flour buns with 3 kinds of fresh fillings, meat fillings and pumpkin fillings. "Qingxiu, do you really have everything in your space?" Lu Zhang handed her a meat bun while eating, asking her to eat it too. Feng Qingxiu shook her head and said that she was full, and then said honestly, "Although it is not that comprehensive and the quantity is limited, there are all kinds of materials for food, clothing, housing, and transportation. I have calculated again and again, our family has a production team rations, then the materials in the space will be enough for us and our relatives and friends to eat for 10 or 20 years. After all, they also have food supplies." Lu Zhang nodded slightly and sighed, "Your space really saved the lives of many of us. God must know your kindness, so he gave you a space full of supplies." "How can I not be as good as you said?" Feng Qingxiu burst into laughter. "Space is a gift from God, but the materials are bought by spending all the savings from the previous life. If you have nothing, you can only guard an empty space and still be hungry." Lu Zhang finished all the buns, took the enamel vat handed by Feng Qingxiu and drank the warm water in it. Patting his belly, he said with satisfaction, "Finally, I have a full meal." "Don't you have enough to eat in the army?" Feng Qingxiu asked distressedly. "It's not that we don't have enough to eat. No one should be blamed, but the soldiers' mouths. This is the consensus of everyone. It's just a simple meal, and various supplies can't keep up. Halfway through the training, I'm so hungry that I can't stand it." Lu Zhang turned to comfort his wife and said, "Don't think too much. At least we have enough to eat. There are many cadres in government agencies and units outside who don't even have enough to eat." Feng Qingxiu didn't quite believe it. If the supply was really sufficient, Huo Biding wouldn't have almost run out of food. She listened to whatever Lu Zhang said. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 360. But Zibao didn't want to. He turned over on the bed and groaned for a long time but couldn't turn over. His limbs just kept moving around. Then he saw his mother and that dark and ugly guy talking affectionately. He was dissatisfied. The ground yelled and started crying. Lu Zhang and Feng Qingxiu immediately gathered around the bed and couldn't help laughing. "It's thunder without rain, this guy can do it." The fat face was clean, not a single golden pea. Feng Qingxiu poked her son's fat cheek. "Didn't you say that his godfather prepared a gift for him? There are a lot of things in your luggage bag, which one is his?" Lu Zhang remembered, "That's the little tank made of bullet casings. It's a small tank with very rough craftsmanship, but every shell has its own story." Lu Zhang found it and put it in front of his son. The little fat boy's eyes were shining brightly. He lay on the bed and stared at it, shouting "Ah" in his mouth, and reached out to touch the barrel of the tank. "He likes it very much." Feng Qingxiu smiled. Lu Zhang hummed. If he had known that the little tank could keep the little fat man honest, he would have taken it out a long time ago. If the little fat boy is honest, it will be easier for parents. Lu Zhang brought many gifts to his wife, such as safflower, snow lotus, musk, matsutake, Tibetan knife, cordyceps, yak jerky, etc., and packed them in a messy package. My salary and allowances in recent months, I exchanged the tickets for these things with local residents, and entrusted them to continue collecting them for me, and then exchange them with them after returning to the army. Originally, this was not allowed, but he reported to the superiors in advance, saying that his wife was studying medicine, and there was a shortage of doctors and medicines in his rural hometown, so he wanted to change some medicinal materials to take home. Mr. Ye was grateful to Feng Qingxiu for her efforts, especially his request was granted. Feng Qingxiu was very happy. We have a group of ducks at home, and I will make cordyceps whole duck soup for you someday. Great supplement. Lu Zhang asked doubtfully, are they allowed to be raised again? Feng Qingxiu pursed her lips and smiled. Now the state has issued an order to encourage people to vigorously develop sideline animal husbandry. We will follow whatever policies come out, and if the policies change, we will follow them. Anyway, the policies above are changing, and people are used to it. At this time, it is not as strict as it will be in the future. If possible, raise a few more, but not too many. If not, raise a few less. You can eat them yourself, and you can sell them to supply and marketing cooperatives or food stations, but you cannot engage in private transactions. Feng Qingxiu had previously entrusted Jing Kuihua to help buy eggs, but she had done so secretly. Lu Zhang understood, don't kill the duck, keep it for laying eggs. I think Zibao likes to eat egg custard. This kid has a good appetite. Is there anything he doesn't like to eat? When we were eating, he would slurp along with us. Didn't you notice? If the sweet potatoes and eggs weren't so conflicting, our dad would have fed him a few mouthfuls of porridge with a spoon. Lu Zhang thought about it and realized it was true. Being able to eat well is a blessing. Being able to eat makes you grow faster and stronger.